Divorce isn't an ending or just an ending. And what a lot of people don't tell you is it's really an identity death. Welcome to Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. I am so happy you're here. Hi, y'all. I have some exciting news for you on this episode, and I cannot wait for you to hear that I have my first guest today. So I'm really excited, and it was important for me to bring in a perspective that I feel like is really important to share, since a lot of this podcast is about starting over and trusting your path no matter how messy it looks. And my perspective has been, as you know, if you've listened along, about my divorce journey and starting over and how that felt like. But I know a lot of my listeners, and I'm so grateful for you, are men. And I have heard from a lot of you that you appreciate my perspective, but I also thought it would be great to kind of hear the man side of what no one tells you about divorce. And so whether you've been through a divorce yourself or you have someone in your life, whether it was your parents or a friend or family or people, and you just don't really get what they're going through, or you are the person and other people just don't really get what you're going through. This episode is for you to feel less alone or to better understand what people deal with when they're going through divorce. And it's more than just paperwork and heartbreak. It's really a change of identity. You're grieving so much, and it's a complete rebuild. It's a shock to your nervous system that you could have never anticipated, and it's the gift that keeps on giving, to be honest. Coming up today, ironically or not, this episode, my first guest, and I can't wait to introduce him. 3 years when I'm recording this is since my divorce, and you kind of don't think a date like that will be so impactful 3 years later. And it really takes you down another place in your mind when those anniversaries come up. And so I hope this episode just brings you maybe something you need to hear, or a little bit more empathy or understanding about what people are going through after everything they thought they knew changes. So I'm going to introduce Cade. And Cade, we met, like, you tell us a little bit about yourself, but I met Cade literally, and I feel like it was such a good fit for Cade because when I met him, I felt like it was about the same time. I had just moved to Nashville. He was thinking about moving to Nashville, and we'd both been divorced recently. I felt like it was pretty recently at the time, right?
I mean, I think I signed my papers like July 20th and moved here November 10th. So it was within 4 or 5 months.
And that was me. Like I was January 30th, and then I moved here end of March. So it's kind of crazy. We're like, get divorced, move to Nashville.
Yeah, pretty much. That was the idea.
Yeah.
But oof, what a time.
It was a time. And I remember we were drinking, and we ended up talking about our divorces. Yep. And the funny thing about that, and if you've been divorced, you know that it's one of those things you just kind of bond with other people because you can't really talk to everyone about it.
No, right.
Because it's kind of like, oh man, because you just know, because before I got divorced, and tell me if this is true for you, you heard people got divorced and you're like, oh, that sucks, man.
Right.
Like literally that's the end of it. You're like, cool.
For me, I think I did such a backwards, like I got married so young that when I got divorced was like when everybody else was getting married. So like I was like the first one. Like, and I mean, I don't even think I'm thinking till this day, I don't think I've had a single friend go through, like a close friend go through that yet. I mean, hopefully they don't have to, but yeah, I was alone on the hill. I mean, my dad had been through it. My mom, like they got divorced. So that's kind of who I leaned on the most, I guess, because they'd experienced it. But yeah, no one else around me. I was alone on the hill.
Yeah.
Starting life over at 27. I did it backwards. I got married young, and then I like lived my college years like in my late 20s. Very odd. Mm-hmm. Very odd.
And that's a good point too, because I feel like even when I got divorced, I luckily had like a work friend that had been divorced like fairly recently, so I really leaned on her, and we became close because of that. But I didn't have, like, we had all circles of friends. And so tell me about that. Like, part of why you wanted to move, like all of your friends are already married or they're getting married and you're doing like something totally different.
Yeah.
Did it just feel like you didn't fit in that space anymore?
Well, I mean, so I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I grew up outside of Springfield, Ohio. It was maybe 45 minutes away from Columbus. That's where I was living at the time with my ex-wife. And so she up and left to Florida like 30 days later. I was like, this is how this, it's funny now because it's over. But like at the time, like I was 27. I was at Ohio State for a couple of years when I got out of the military. So I had a lot of young college friends. So I was like staying on my two college roommates' couch on campus, like in the hood. And then I moved in with one of my friends from like the Ohio State tailgate, my friend Megan, and then another random dude. And they were all like 21, 22. And here I'm like 27, fresh off divorce. They're like just graduated college, living on campus. And after a few months of that, I was like, dude, I got to get the hell out of here. Like, this just isn't working. And I'd came to Nashville a couple times. I came in like June, like even before it happened. I was like, okay, because I was doing the music thing like at home. And so then when I came back, I think I came for like a fight in August. And that was like that weekend was the last time I ever saw my ex-wife. I like came to Nashville. It's kind of a cool story. I came to Nashville, did this whole audition thing, was like, all right, I'm moving here. Like, the hell with Ohio, I'm coming down here. And so then I drove back after that weekend trip with my boys, saw my ex-wife, my dogs for the last time, came back down for like a music thing, and then that was it. And that was like the moment was that day where it all kind of, everything changed.
Have you seen her again?
Nope.
Because I feel like let's kind of like that thing. I think when you say I do to someone, you think they're going to be your whole life.
Yep.
It's not even about them. And then one day you're like, yeah, I just never saw him again. Because I remember the last time I saw my ex-husband, we were like exchanging registrations for, he had the truck and I had the BMW, like anyways. And he wouldn't even look me in the eye. And that was the last time. And I never seen him again. Yeah. And you're like, I literally envisioned in my head, like the old porch swing thing with you. And now it's like you don't done. Even exist. Yeah. Like, not that you don't exist, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I told people, I said, it's like, it's almost as if this is how I felt in the moment. And this is pretty morbid, but like, I felt like I would have rather her been dead than having to go on knowing. Now that was at the time. I don't feel that way anymore. Yeah. But it would have been
not
easier.
Not you doing that. Yeah, just saying if she would have been widowed.
But like, it would have been easier to process if she had passed away than having to go on knowing she was out there. Now that's changed since then. At this point, it's no harm, no foul. I don't care. But that's how I felt at the time. Yeah. And it was like, my situation was so unique because it wasn't bitter at first. Like, me and my ex-wife, this is my favorite story. This is funny. Our 8th anniversary was on July 18th. We got divorced on July 21st. We went to our anniversary dinner that week.
Together.
And so it was cool. Yeah. Because we were like, we were going to be friends and like stay in touch. And like, it was cool for a while. And then it kind of got shitty.
I think that is kind of part of the journey for some people that have never been divorced. The weird part about it is because that was the same moment I realized that my ex-husband, one time during the separation, he's like, our neighbors were moving the house we had back in Utah. And he was like, well, how much is the house for sale? Maybe I'll just move over there and you and I can still be like friends. And because no matter if it's not working out or not, like, you literally did a lot of pivotal years.
That's your
ride or die.
That's your homie.
Yeah. So it's like, exactly.
It's weird.
So not only are you losing, like, you're not married anymore, you're not a husband, you're not a wife, you're not living with them, you don't have like a roommate, even if it was that's who they are. You literally don't have your best friend. Yeah. And people don't get that. Like, even though they were your best friend, it doesn't mean you want to be married to them, but they were still the role of the best friend for a lot of people. I'm not saying everyone has that in their experience. But
no, that's how it was for me. I mean, that was my and like I said, that's all. I got married so young. Some people they don't get married till their mid-20s or 30s, so they have that time as an adult to themselves. I didn't have that. It was straight military, get married. So she was the only thing I knew. And, I mean, I know we're going to get into it later, but you want to talk about identity crashing.
Yes.
And I realized I was pretty codependent, too, which I never realized before. And then, which is kind of why I did it, because I was like, I relied on this girl, and, like, I left her. So that's a thing, too. Like, you did the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so that's where you know, I don't know how it is to be the other way around. I'm sure that's probably worse because at least I made the decision and I kind of had to live with it. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good. So let's kind of unpack that a little bit. Like, why did you, as the man in the relationship? Because I think I think a lot of my listeners and people that have said is that usually a man leaves more when, and I think this is statistically too from what I've read, when he already has someone next, right? Because he's ready for. And sometimes women will just leave regardless. I think in general, though, a lot of people. I see why people don't leave a marriage until they have someone else now that I've been doing it alone.
Yeah.
Because it's hard, to process by yourself. But what made you make the decision to jump out of your comfort zone, like leave everything you ever knew? Like, what was it? What was the final straw that you're like, I just can't?
Well, God, that's so deep. I mean, I think that's almost like your whole life my whole life led up to that. And I always tell people now, if I could go back and do it differently and maybe put a little more, I'm saying we would have worked out, because I think especially now that I've turned into who I am and kind of found myself, I don't think we would work together. I just don't. Like, I don't think she would like who I am now. Not that I became a bad person. I wouldn't be, I was already a lot for her to handle based on my upbringing. And then I kind of just became that person because that's who I am. That's where I came from. And she wouldn't like that. So what had happened is I was in school at Ohio State this is so funny because if you look where I'm at now, it's like, how the hell did this happen? But I was in school in the early winter, spring, like of 2023 at Ohio State, living in Columbus. We got out of the military at 2020, moved back to Ohio to Columbus, been there like 3 years. I've been in school 3 years to be an education teacher, to like teach PE. Which I is crazy. You know me, that's crazy. That's a crazy thing. And so she came home one day and this is funny because where I'm going tonight, but she came home one day and was like, hey, I don't want to live here anymore. Like crying, bawling her eyes out after work. She hated the cold. It was this whole thing and was just like, we have to go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, well, this is like my wife. Like, okay, like, let's do that. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. I'm literally in the middle of this thing, but I guess we'll figure it out. And I started like looking up, she gave me like 4 places. It was like Vegas, Florida, I think Nashville, but I wasn't ready for that, which is funny because I ended up moving there anyways, but I just didn't think I was ready for that yet. And it definitely would not have worked if she came with me. It would have been a nightmare. And then like Phoenix or something. And I was like, well, I love Vegas. I'm going to Vegas tonight by myself. That's how much I love Vegas. That's my favorite place in the world. So I was like, okay, well, we can do that. And then I started looking and was like, teachers don't make anything in Vegas. That's like the worst school system in the country. They make like $40,000 a year. It's bad. So I was like, well, that ain't going to work. And I was like, well, what can I do? Like, there's casinos everywhere. I can go work in a casino. So I just happened to get on Indeed, and the Columbus casino was hiring pit bosses off the street, which doesn't happen. So I applied for it, get the job, drop out of school. And the plan was I'm going to do this for a year and a half and get some experience, and then we're going to move out there. And I told her, because I was working night shifts, like 8 p.m. to 4:30 weekends. I wasn't home much. And I remember telling her in the beginning, like, hey, this is going to be tough. We got to make sure this doesn't unravel us, because it will. It's like the highest divorce rate career outside of like maybe being like a doctor or nurse. It's up there with that, or like a pilot or something, because you're going at night on the weekends. And that's exactly what happened. I did it for about 90 days. That's how I started that job in February. I left her May 3rd.
So you felt like it all just started like it wasn't stable enough to like deal with any change.
I had a moment one night that it was impulsive. The decision in the moment was impulsive because it's not something that I gave a whole lot of thought to beforehand. I mean, I had wanted to leave her early in the relationship, like the first year in, because we were young, and like it wasn't. I didn't want to. It's a lot, but I didn't. Yeah. I stuck with it. But that was where I was like, I just was at work one night. I'd started to feel like I want to be on my own. I don't know if I want to move out there and be miserable in Vegas and have kids with this woman and then just that be my life. And
So you started, like, do you feel like in the relationship, it wasn't premeditated? Because I would say that was mine when I said it to my ex-husband. It was really like, it just came over me.
Yeah, it was at a night after work. I walked out of the casino. I tears. And I said, okay, this is it. And I waited for her to stay up. It was awful. Like going back, it was a terrible thing. Like I waited for her to wake up, went in and said, hey, I think it's time.
So let's kind of talk about that, because I feel like that's like, I got some questions. I know y'all look at me. I'm like prepared. So after you finally like said it, what initially like surprised you in the process? Like, obviously maybe you were surprised by, oh, well, we're just cool and we're just friends for a minute, because that was ebbing and flowing. But while you're going through it, like, what were you kind of surprised by? Like, what were you like, this is not what I thought it was going to be? Was it all of it? Was it?
Well, I think you're in such a shock that the initial couple days are like, it's not real yet. And so you're just like, whatever. And like I said, this is my decision. Now, but also if I was to go back in like the headspace that I was in and where I was at mentally, it was not healthy. I mean, I was unhealthy, like in all ways, spiritually, mentally, physically, I was depressed. And so, but I didn't know how to process it, and I think I blamed a lot of it on her.
Yeah.
And, she wasn't perfect, but I could have solved a lot of that stuff myself. So I think in the moment I was like, all right, let's go. Like,
it's almost like it feels easier than trying to like unpack all the damage. Like, it feels
you can't
like
do it in the moment immediately.
Yeah.
It hurts like hell. I mean, I remember like a good month, I'm up every night crying, and you go back and forth. Like you have to, like, for me, it was like 1 minute I would be like, okay, I made the right decision. This was the right thing to do. This is why X, Y, and Z. And I was being rational. And then the next night, oh my God, did I make the right choice? I can't reverse this. I can't put it back in the box. Like it's done. And then you have that, like, I don't know if buyer's remorse is the word, but like you start to have that regret. And so then it just ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Until eventually you're just like, which I don't know when it happened for me, probably when I moved here, where I was just like, okay, like this.
And I think that's why I think that's why people move a lot. Like, even when I met you, and I knew why someone would want to move. I remember going back home early on after the divorce, and I thought, and I was driving around just seeing the area, and I thought, how do people because both you and I didn't have kids, and so I can't speak to that. Would only be even more of a layer that I can't even imagine, because and I just feel for the kids, because not because of the divorce, because I think two people that are happier on their own are better personally. Not that I'm advocating for divorce, but the back and forth that the parents are going through, both mentally and the kids having to witness it, that would be very difficult, because I feel like you're right. Like, one day I was doing the same, I made the right choice. I know this could never work. There's no going back. And then other days I literally pulled into our driveway and I'm like, I just want my life back.
Right.
I want my old life back.
There's a lot of that. I mean, that was a time I remember like moving down here and being like, having some of those nights going home and thinking like, because you remember how it was. I mean, when we were all out. Like, we had that little crew and we got here with all of our friends, and it was every single night.
Sometimes I look back on that time, and I definitely want to share more with my audience because I've evolved so much since this Wandering the Wild Mess started. And I'm like, I don't even know how me as a grown woman was out, but I think it's literally you're in this like limbo, like middle stage,
exactly what it is.
Where you're like, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm trying to just kind of numb all the feelings that are coming up. I'm distracting myself with things to do and like fun, lighthearted environments. And it ends up being a phase, I think, for people in divorce. I mean, I'm sure some people stay in it and some people never go there.
Well, that was my thing. And that was what I told myself too. Cause like, I think that coming down here and doing all that, although it was hell on me physically, and I caused myself a lot of pain, and like, I could have got further quicker and got started over faster had I not done that. But I don't beat myself up, because it was what it was at the time. But I think if I don't do that, I don't come out on the other side like I am now. I think I just kind of needed it
So
to not, because I never fully went off the rails. You know, I never developed a crazy drinking problem. I never got into drugs. Like, I stayed pretty, you know, even when I came to Nashville, like, I was one of the tame people. Like, I kind of looked around like, God, these people are crazy. Like, I don't want to do all this.
I feel like that's a funny thing about Nashville. I feel like I never got that full into it because I feel like people just don't
there's
ask
no
me
yeah.
like or something, make an assumption.
Yeah.
But I mean, it definitely, I am thankful it didn't get me down like crazy paths, but it was crazy for me, you know, crazy for who I had been the whole time in my life back home. It was like two different people. And so let's talk about the identity. Like, how did you adjust with like your friends, people that knew you? Because I remember like my friends one time when I was going through the divorce, and I had an episode I talked about this, that I brought something up. We were all going out and I had just done mediation, and I was just, it was hard to be on this. We were on like a Zoom call together, and he was mad at me, and I was just going through it. And I had brought it up because it was just on my mind. We'd been drinking some wine at a concert. My friend's like, I don't really have the capacity for that. Like, I don't really want to be talking, you know, like, because she couldn't understand. I don't blame her now, whatever. But it was hard to not have people to talk to about it. And like you said, you didn't have, you know, your guys back home, like they were all younger, never married or just getting married. So like, how did you, besides your parents, like, how did you hold that all on yourself? Like, how did you process it? You know, like, how did you?
I think there's like sometimes like the way that I guess it worked for me was like, I basically just told myself like, okay, I understood. I didn't have a whole lot of regret, like, ever. I do. The only thing I regret is the way I went about it. I could have went about it that was easier on her, because the way I did it was just, it was awful. Like, just out of nowhere, no conversation, like, just boom, which I don't know. There's not a good way to do it, but it was just like the timing of it, the way I did it. I could have done that. But as far as like, I never regretted it. So I think the one thing that I told myself is like, okay, like, you did this, you got this thing that you wanted, and you're going to go live this life, go live it. Like, you can't go back and be that thing that you were before. And if you don't come out of this a better person, a better man, a better friend, a better, you know, potential father or husband again, then it's like, then you failed yourself and you failed her, you know, because like, I want her to go on and have success, and, you know, hopefully she grew from it. I don't know, but I know I did. And so the identity thing was like, okay, we've stripped everything away. There's nowhere, like you said, there's no one to lean on. So then what do I have to do? Well, I have to lean on myself
and decide who you are. I think that's a big one. It's there's one positive is you kind of get a clean slate to rebuild.
Yeah, for sure.
Your life and just really define who you are.
For me, that was delayed though. Like, it didn't happen immediately.
Same. I feel like same. That's why the people that go into just right after a relationship, they kind of get to keep some identity pieces, because they're like being a partner, and then maybe they get another group of friends. Like, my biggest thing was we just had this like tight knit group of friends. And then I lost, and I moved, so I would have, but it was like, I knew it wouldn't have been the same even if I stayed, because my life was different.
Right.
And so it's like, you lose your core group of friends, or at least the same way. It doesn't feel the same, because now you're on your own. And then you lose, like, you're not a husband or a wife. You're, even the way people view you when you're like married, I feel like it's like, you seem, I realized this later, like, you feel like you're a little more put together. Like, when you got to say, I have a wife or a husband, people look at you like
for sure
differently.
Right.
And then when you're not anymore, it's like, what are you? And then you're kind of like, then you start thinking about, like, that's where I threw myself into work. It's like, okay, then I'm this corporate girl, because I needed some title to cling on to, because I didn't know who I was anymore.
For me, it was the Nashville thing. It was like, come here and like try to play Morgan Wallen and be this, you know, hot shot.
So you're like, shit, that would be my new identity.
Womanizer. Yeah. And I realized really quick that well, I don't know. It wasn't really quick. It probably took me a year or so before I was like, dog, like, I mean, I gained some stuff from being that.
Yeah.
Like my confidence went through the roof and it stayed.
Yeah.
Because I had it before, but it was false. It wasn't built on like, it was just like almost arrogance. And so then now it's real. I feel like, you know, I'm generally a confident person, but I had to rebuild it 3 times since because I've got my ass handed to me by women. That was the thing that surprised me.
Is dating again?
Oh my Lord, is like I thought my wife was like, or my ex-wife was like annoying or like maybe a little mentally off or not unstable, but like had some issues. And then I started interacting with some of these girls. Like I was like, oh my, she was an angel compared to this.
I mean, women.
So the grass ain't necessarily greener.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out. I think sometimes because this is never like to advocate for divorce, but help people that are navigating it. But I think that is a very true thing because I realized that even with my ex-husband, like he was a very loyal man, and now I have like single friends and they're out, and I had that one boyfriend I had cheating on me. I'm like, what? Like and then he tries to get back with me. I'm like, no, I had a husband that would have never done such a thing. You think I'm downgrading to someone that disrespect me like that? Never. Yep. But I didn't realize that either. I feel, and I'm not saying there's probably a lot of. I think the hard part, Cade, sometimes not the hard part, but the truth is that everybody's just got issues. Yeah. And unless they really deal with them, but when you're in the worst space, and this is what I've noticed, you attract who you are. Oh, yeah. So you were still in that toxic mentality. So it's not, because when a man tells me that he had, and I don't want to say crazy, but like those kind of girls, that tells me something about the man. Right. To be honest. Yeah. Because, and that ex-boyfriend actually said that. So I should have known, but I wasn't in the right place. Because I feel like sometimes you think when you're attracting why am I attracting these people that I didn't know existed? Because you're that person.
God's trying to teach you the lesson. He's going to send it to you over and over
again. He's going to over and over and be like, are you going to accept that behavior or are you going to level up your own? Yeah. So that just isn't even, you wouldn't even let them in. Right. Because there's probably things about even those women that you're like looking back. Oh. You knew out the jump. Yeah, immediately. But you surpassed it because you needed the ego boost. You needed the validation, whatever.
You're so lonely that I'm not saying I lost values or that I didn't have standards, but you're just so like just ripped up that it goes out the window. Like you're like, I mean, I'm not going to get into details because I don't want to give some of these girls like even the time of day. But there was a couple looking back where I'm just like, dude, like that's not us. I'm like, why did we tolerate that? Now it was a good thing I did because it forced me into a place where I didn't hit rock bottom until a year and a half after, like true rock bottom. I thought I'd hit it, and then I really hit it.
That's another piece about, I think, for people on the divorce journey, like you kind of think you're like at the lowest point and then you get to another low point and another. And like even today on 3 years, I was like literally crashing out, spiraling on the drive, like just thinking about how much farther along I wanted to be by now. It's already 3 years. I should have all these things together because especially as the leaver, that is one thing because you made a decision. Right. Well, you should have made the decision to have a better life. And then you start going, okay, well, I'm 3 years out. Is your life what you thought it should be? And you kind of, and I want to be that girl that's beating up myself. I mean, we both know when you're on that journey of like understanding life, you know that it doesn't do you any good to beat yourself up, but it's hard not to judge the past version of you. Yeah. For things that it did. Yeah. And I realized you kind of have to just say like, hey, I did the best I could with the version of me that I was at that time. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
That's the thing. I mean, that's the one thing that I came out of this with, like the self acceptance, and not in I'm a perfect person, I've never done anything wrong, but like, I did these things. I can't do anything about them. I own them. I don't beat myself up for it. I understand the headspace that I was in that moment when I walked out. I was unhealthy, and I wasn't, but if I don't do that, then I don't get here to the place where and I still deal with stuff. Like, it's not like it all just goes away. It's harder now, I think, being in a relationship than it was then. Because like once everything can go wrong, you know, when I was married before, it was like, that's all I knew. And so, yeah, I mean, we had issues, but like we rocked together for years and years and years. So you just knew like, all right, this is my dog. Like, we're going to figure this out. Now it's, you know, it's difficult because you're starting over. You know, there's just things that bother you, or that you just have these triggers.
Yeah. So
that
you
come from that.
That's a good point too. So I was going to ask about like dating after divorce, because I don't think I've done an episode, or I'm probably going to talk about this, but I didn't date. I didn't go on one single date all last year.
No, really.
And that wasn't like, I didn't set it up intentionally. I just was just busy, and I didn't, you know, I just didn't. And I'm a lot, and when I say I'm a lot more picky, it's like not like picky about like, oh, they got this checklist. I mean, obviously I have things that qualities that I would obviously want in a partner, but it was just more like, to your point, like it's another, I don't really want to waste my time and energy unless I see it really going somewhere. And so that's different.
Yep.
Like casually dating after you've already been married, I feel like feels a little foreign.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I did life with someone.
Yeah.
I don't really just want to like talk about my favorite color. Like you said, like you had to ride or die this person. And now I just got to go back to like, oh, where did you grow up? You know? And it's
exhausting.
Yeah. It just feels different. And I think trusting someone when you've known someone for so long, because I met my ex-husband when I was 21.
Yeah.
And we had a whole bunch of mutual friends that all knew each other. Yep. So like, then you know, oh yeah, he's a good guy. Like everybody knows him, where he, you know, you're meeting people that you might not know that many people they know, or not for very long.
Yep.
It's totally different. So like,
It is.
Did you think, have you thought now, because I felt, and I want to hear your perspective, when I got divorced, I was like, I'm never getting married again. At the beginning. Yeah. Now I'm at a spot where I'm like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I want to get married tomorrow, but I feel like if I am anyone that I would entertain long enough to date for like a year, I would probably see myself having some potential in marrying them, because I wouldn't want to spend my time with someone I couldn't see that with. Like, how do you view marriage compared to before, when you got married and you were like, I'm young, I'm just doing this, and probably the military added to that pressure.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have done it if that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
that relationship would have ended fairly soon after that if we didn't get married.
Yeah.
As far as the getting married again, I don't necessarily remember what my initial thought was. Probably
didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're so like, why would I even want to think of that right now?
I was just like, I'm never getting married again.
No, I never had that. The one thing that, and this is easier said than done, but the one thing that I told myself, you know, in the first couple months is like, don't let this make you jaded, because that's not who you are. Like, and so I did that. The problem is that I should have been a little jaded, because I was giving too much grace, because I had told myself, we don't want to take the things from this relationship and project it on the next one or the next girl. And it's like, yeah, that's fine if you find somebody who's like actually a decent person and is like, okay, then that applies. But I had took it and done like, no, we're just going to give every girl we meet the benefit of the doubt, because we don't want, and it's like, and that's how I got my just wrecked. But I think, no, I didn't have a negative aspect. I mean, I remember thinking maybe within the year,
after the divorce,
you
were like
thinking like, if I get a chance to do this again, I'm gonna do it right. And all the stuff that I did, I was too stupid and dumb at 21 to know any better. And that, because like, I wasn't a perfect husband to my ex-wife. I mean, I was no saint. Yeah. And I'll admit that. It's in my book. Like, I was mean. I was angry. I was irritable. I would fly off the handle. I would yell. I mean, I've never been like physical or anything like that, but like, I was a little manipulative. Like, there was stuff that I did that, you know, I'm not excusing it based on the way I grew up and what I seen in the house and how my parents were in the dynamic, and they were divorced, and like my mom had a bunch of awful relationships. So that's just kind of what I knew. But I wasn't perfect by any means. And so that was my one thing, is like, if we get a chance to do this again, which we probably will, hopefully, we have to be what we couldn't be. And like, and it's almost, I almost looked at it like that's a respect to her, that
it wasn't for
she
nothing.
taught me all these, that it wasn't for nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sucks because it's like, well, I'm sure if we could go back, she'd love to just get me now and have these, but that's not the way it plays out.
Yeah.
So it's almost like she had to deal with that, and go through all that. So when you get this opportunity again, do it the right way. And that's not that I'm not, I've been in a relationship like with this girl right now for a few months. And that's the longest, this is my first actual girlfriend since, outside of like maybe seeing a girl for like a few weeks.
And that's good.
And it's
too.
tough.
No,
but it's been
good.
2 years,
Well,
over 2 years.
That's another thing I want to bring up, that I think people that are going through divorce, if they've been in a relationship since or not, like I've done a lot of healing, and like you have too. You do a lot of healing on your own, and you can do a lot of healing in isolation. And I think this is the scary part of me thinking about getting a relationship, and now you're experiencing, is that there's some things you can't heal on your own. So until you even know they're there,
yes,
then you don't realize
how much do they affect you.
Like there's little triggers that come up, because I did experience that for a minute with that boyfriend, where I was like, why am I feeling this way? And I knew it was like things that I didn't process, but I didn't realize because
you
they
weren't
weren't
dealing with it.
I wasn't dealing with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just this like double-edged sword, because you kind of have to get back in a relationship to finally heal all of it, to be like, here, now I know how to be a partner again, because you're almost like learning to be a partner again with a whole new set of, I wouldn't call them rules, but your whole perspective has changed. But now you have this pressure, and I don't know, I want to hear from you if you feel this. I cannot, and I don't want to put this pressure on myself, but I cannot imagine going through a divorce again. Like the people are like, oh, 2 or 3 or 4, and you're like, what? And so for me, it's like the pressure to want to get it right.
Yeah.
The next time is like overwhelmingly a lot for me.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel, do you feel like that as a man? I feel like there's more men I know that have been married multiple times than women, but I think it goes both ways. Like, do you feel like it's like next time or never, or you're just like, I'm just going to roll with whatever happens?
Well, I think the next time, when that happens, I think that one will be more I won't say the first one wasn't impactful, but the time that it will occur will have a hell of a lot more of an effect. Like, I thought, I don't know about you, but I remember when I was 18 thinking like, oh my gosh, when I'm 25, I'm going to be so old and my life is over.
Yeah.
And then you get 25 and you're like, I've still done nothing. And like, I'm still young. I feel good. And so I remember thinking like, oh man, like I'm getting divorced at 27. That's not that crazy.
No.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm starting over. This is so awful. And now in hindsight, it's like, no, that was actually probably the best time. Because if I would have waited any longer, it would have made the last couple, what I did in the last couple of years would have been less acceptable. And it gives me more of an opportunity to, I don't have to rush. Which if you were to get divorced at 40 or mid 30s or 50 or whatever, then it's like, especially as a woman, that's scary.
No, that's
something I didn't have to
that
deal
was
with.
me. I felt like, I remember being like I can't like be divorced. And there was a moment I remember telling my therapist, like, who's even going to want me? And that sounds so sad to say about myself, because like that is just so unkind, but you feel that way, but not like, you're worthy of it. But I think society like really does a good job at like, especially for women, making it feel like there's just like this expiration date, because we already feel that way. Like, I have friends that are like, and I'm going to have another guest. Well, I won't peep it, but she's coming up to 30 and like was divorced. And she's like, oh my gosh, like I should have been, now I'm turning, and it's like this big age. And we do that. And then you get there and you're like, oh, like it's not really what and
people don't care. Like that was the one thing that I thought is like, I think for men it's a little different.
They
sure. But I just thought that like most women, when I was always scared to tell them I was divorced, but every girl that I've ever told that, they've never cared. I'm not saying it didn't like maybe bother them a little bit, but like my girl now, like she's young, like she's significantly younger than me. She's like never been married, like been in a couple relationships. And I'm sure she doesn't love it, but it wasn't like the end of the world.
See, and I never really thought, like, weirdly for me, and I have had like the friend that I was talking about, I remember she told me she went on a date, and then when he found out she was divorced, he was like over it. I haven't personally experienced that.
Yeah.
And I actually haven't had any like men feel like that was like I don't think so. I think, and I'm like older than her. I think too, by my age, if you haven't been married, I think men, for whatever reason, feel differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then, and not that that's right. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
for
that
them,
way.
they're kind of like, oh well, I mean, you were married.
That's how I felt. Is like, and I'm not saying this is right, but that was where I was like, well, if. I think like,
is that why you went younger then
Yeah.
after the divorce? So you didn't
Yeah.
have to.
well, yeah, I mean, that's part of it. And two, because if, I'm not saying I'm not ready to have kids or like like I am now, like if it happened, I'd be all right. 2 years ago, I would not have been. So like, I'm going to be 30 in 45 days. So things have changed a little bit, but yeah, I felt like if I meet a girl that's closer to my age or older than me, she's going to be ready immediately, especially if she hasn't already been married. And so I was like, I got to know, like, I feel like if a girl's a little younger than me, well, number one, she's going to want some time.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have kids till I didn't have kids. And then I got divorced at 20. So I was married. We were going to have kids at like 28, 29. That was our plan, right? So like if you be a girl that's a little younger, you got a little time to get to know her and like make sure. Because I feel like if you're 30 and you meet someone who's 30, especially when it comes to kids, the truth is I'm not running out of time, but women are. And so I was just like, I don't want to be rushed into something because someone's closer to my age. Because if I have a kid at 40, it's not, I don't care. Like it's not, I'm going to be more mature and grown and like understand the world better the older I get. Like that's how it's happened for me. Every year that I age, the smarter I get, the more wisdom I have, the more calmer, the more diplomatic I get. So like I think the longer that I wait, the better off. I mean, you're like, we don't have kids when you're 70. I don't care. Like I've lived a hell of a life. So.
Okay, I know a lot of women that are having kids late, but I hear you. I mean, I feel like you do definitely. There's a difference when you get divorced because usually when you get divorced, you got married decently younger, and known the person for a long time, and then you're right. When you get divorced, it's like this random population of people that are either just getting married, also getting divorced, might already have kids, might be like wanting kids out the jump, might never want kids now. Like it's a whole different. So I feel like you do have to make it. I mean, it just complicates the dating pool because you didn't think about all of those things so much when you first picked your partner, right? Like I feel like especially young, you're not seeing the world through the lens that you do now.
Yeah, I also got really lucky at the age that it happened because I feel like as a man in your mid to late 20s, even early 30s, that's your prime dating window because you can date down and you can like your window of like age range is the biggest it will ever be.
I feel like that's the same for women though too. I feel like I didn't know that until I was like, oh, but I feel like
I guess that's true.
I feel like it, and I mean, obviously everyone's like different on what their life. It's really about like what season of life you're in. Compatibility with season of life is like a big thing. So okay, so going back to the divorce piece and like your emotions that you're going through. So now we're saying like. It kind of takes a relationship to heal. But like, what did you need in the early stages of the process? Like when you were healing that you wish you would have had? Like what would have helped more? Would have been like, as a man, did you feel like you couldn't show emotions with it? You couldn't feel angry, sad about it because no one got it? Like what do you wish you could have had more of to help you manage
time to myself? I know that sounds a little weird, but I think I outsourced so much in the beginning that because that's what it took in the end was a phase of, it wasn't very long. I mean, it was like 90 days of basically just cutting myself off from the world, not going out, reading, journaling, like all that. So I think if I would have done that earlier, I would have gotten out of it. So if you know, if I could have went back and just immediately started dealing with it, you know, there's this like analogy about the buffalo. I had this is actually crazy because I had a buddy that called me early last spring, one of my troops when I was in the military in New Mexico with, and I hadn't heard from him. I mean, we were good buddies, but sometimes you keep up. Like we'd text back and forth, and he calls me one day. And I'm like, what in the hell is this dude? Like he ain't called me in for 5 years, you know? And I call him like, hey John, like what's up, man? He's like, you know, my wife left me yesterday and I didn't know who else to call. And that was where I was like, yeah, not yes, like I'm not excited, but I'm like, I can help because I did it. So and I told him the analogy. I said, you know, if you know anything about buffaloes, when the storm comes, most of the animals run from the storm and they stay in it longer. When the buffalo turns and runs head on into the storm because he knows that if he does that, it'll be over quicker. So that's what I wish I would have done, is just faced it immediately, and then the emotional healing would have happened faster, and I wouldn't have had to, I don't say ruin my life, because where I'm sitting right now, like I'm okay, I'm doing pretty good, but I wouldn't have had to put myself through so much financial damage, emotional damage with other women, and just depression and chaos if I would have just said, you know what, let's go now. I ran away. I ran here. I mean, that's what I did.
And I think, and I love that, because I do feel, I've thought about this before. I don't wish divorce on anyone that I know, but I know.
Not my worst enemy.
No. And I think that's one thing I want people to realize in this episode. Like people don't, I literally think it was struggling just to even work and go through life.
I quit my job. I mean, immediately, because I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
So I couldn't function for 60 days.
Yeah, you're literally like, I mean, I remember, because you talked about the grief about it would have been easier. And my therapist said it is like grieving the loss of someone. And when I lost my dad, like I had to grieve that again, because I lost my father-in-law in the divorce, and I lost the masculine man, my husband, and then I didn't have a dad. So I just had no masculine energy in my present. And it was, and I think as a woman, sometimes you don't realize, and we're kind of like, oh, we don't need no man, but there is such a difference of having that support.
Yeah. If it's healthy support.
If it's healthy. Yeah, for sure. And so it was like trying to like wean myself off that. And I think that's the same for men. Like, even if she brought this feminine lightness, balance to your life, whether or not it was going to work, you know, that now you're without.
Yeah.
And so now you're kind of like seeking that in other people that really don't have the connection, but they're just feeling that void. And so it's like a whole loss of like,
hell.
And I feel like one thing that people don't know is that you don't know who you are. No. So when they're saying, I don't even know who they are anymore. Great. We don't know who we are anymore either. Like, because I felt like people were saying that after, like, you're doing things and it's so out of character. And I look back at even like videos I had recorded, what I was going through. I was kind of sharing them like with my friends, and I'm like, I don't even know that girl. And they didn't know her, and she didn't know her. You're just lost.
You're just in it. Lost.
Okay, so
lost
Cade,
is a good.
Lost is a good, and I know we're like coming up to. This is like a long one for you listeners. So, kind of like you did with your friend John. So I know you kind of said if handling the divorce alone, it sounds like two things I want to end with. Like, how would you suggest they should deal with it? Like, obviously maybe hitting a buddy up. I feel like that's huge if you know someone. And then if they feel a man listening right now, because you know you grieve for a while. Like, here we are, I'm 3 years, you're 2.5. It's still coming up. So it's not a quick healing. What would you say to a man that's like feeling grief, lost, ashamed, like he failed, all those things, and going through it right now? Like, what would you tell him?
I have a great analogy for this.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite things that I've came up with. I mean, it's not just divorce, but it helps. But first, what was the first thing you asked?
Oh yeah, like if men like
what should they do
so they don't feel
I
so
mean,
alone.
you definitely you want to talk to people and openly. You know, if you're upset, like I'll cry in front of people. I don't care. I'm not prideful. I'm not trying to prove anything. So you want to have people around. Don't isolate. not in the beginning. And that's what I did. That's what I said. I moved here. I had people around me every night. So I eventually just woke up one day and was a little better off. I was running from it, and there's some stuff I had to still deal with, but like the initial onslaught, I was able to get through fairly easily because I had so many people around me, whether it was just family calling on the phone or people here or just out at the bar, whatever. I moved to Nashville. I was out every night, so it saved me, and that's why I said, so you can isolate. At some point, you're going to have to isolate, but you have to be ready for that. Like, I was ready for it when I did it, and it didn't bother me, and I quit with the validation seeking and needing a girl in my phone. I stopped with that, and so it was easier, but at first I needed people. And the other analogy that I came up with, because I was talking to my buddy one night, this is when I moved back to Ohio, and, we're sports guys, and he lost his dad when he was pretty young, like maybe 20, 21, and we were kind of talking. I had just got broken up with this girl that I'd been seeing for a few weeks back home, and I was just sick of dealing with it. Like, it just seems like I couldn't get anywhere with women or whatever. And I had this thing where I was like, man, I was like, what? And especially with the marriage thing is like, I just watched the NBA finals, and the Indiana Pacers go all the way to the NBA finals. They go to game 7, right? And they're 48 minutes away from winning a championship. And Tyrese Halliburton tears his ACL or his Achilles 3 minutes into the game, and that's it. That's their star player. So it's over. It's over, right? And I remember that look on his face, like when he's sitting there on the ground, like crying, and I'm like, that's what you feel. And so what I said is like, what when you miss, if you lose the championship, if you get all the way there and you have that great team, what do you miss? You don't miss what happened. You don't miss the season. You don't miss the practices. You don't miss the flights. You don't miss the bus rides and the pregame and all that. You miss what life would have been like had you won that championship. But instead, you have to watch someone else celebrate it and someone else talk about it in 10 years down the line, and you know that you lost. And so that's what you're grieving. You're not grieving what happened or what you lost or all the memories. You're grieving what you're losing in the future. And I think that was the hardest thing. And which sucks. And I said, so that's when you lose a Super Bowl, you don't care about the games and the great season. You don't get to celebrate, and that guy does, and that eats you up. But you know what the good news is? The good news is next week you get to get back in the gym and you have an off season and you get to go out there next season and compete for it again. And so that helped me. When I came up with that analogy on the spot, I was like, so now I just had this like, dude, I get to go do this again. Like, whether it's with a friend or it's a next relationship or whatever, I get an opportunity to go out there, put my best foot forward, knowing what I know now, and put myself in the best position to win and take all the lessons away from that. But that season's over. I can't change it. I can't go back and play that game again. Like, me and my wife, we got to the damn game 7 of the NBA finals. We were right there. Yeah. We were right there. But it didn't work out.
So it's an end, but not the end.
Yeah.
Is kind of the
perspective. That's how, you get another season. And I know whether it's a year or whatever, but as long as you come out of this thing thinking, okay, like, this is going to sting for a minute. It's going to suck, but I get to lace my shoes up again and get back out there. And you have to have that mindset. You can't let, I lost, like, who cares? Like, it's over. Like, move forward. And you might lose again next year.
No,
I got my ass whipped for 3 seasons after, but now I feel like I can finally win. So,
and that is so key that you said that. I love that you said that, because I was talking to another guy about this, and he was saying, we were talking about QBs, like, so if sports analogy, but just how for a quarterback, you just have to really have a short memory.
Play. Yeah.
Like, you just threw an interception, now you're back on the field. Yep. You just have to and not that you just don't, you still have to feel your emotions, right? Because you have to move through them.
Yep.
So he's on the ground crying. You still have to cry it out. You still have to feel it.
But you got to turn them into the fuel.
But then you got to be like, okay, but on to the next, with not like, I don't have any respect for all of the progress I gained, all of the lessons, all the things. Let me just take that with me and win big the next time. And I think that is kind of the way we have to see it. Like, I'm going to be a better husband, a better wife the next time around, a better person. I'm going to not self-abandon, because I think in young marriages or in marriage, sometimes you abandon yourself so many times, which makes it really hard to go and be alone anymore, because you weren't taking care of yourself in the marriage. So now not only do you not have a partner to like lean on, you weren't even taking care of yourself then.
Right.
So self-leadership. Yeah, that's big. Because that's really what that is in the game.
Yeah.
He just self-leadership. All right, I'm getting back up, getting back on the court next season.
And some people, that's the end. They lose that game and they never get back, and that's the end of their career. But there's others, you know, like I know I always tie everything back to sports, but like Michael Jordan got his ass kicked by the Pistons his first 6 years in the league, and then he whips off 6 in a row and is the greatest player ever. So that sports stuff works for me. Like, it's like whenever something like this happens, it's like, okay, but I'm going to get another chance.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be better, and I'm going to be more prepared. I'm not starting over. I'm starting from what I've learned and experienced. Mm-hmm. So in anything, that is the biggest thing that kept me on the path.
On the path.
Is that knowing that, like, I get another chance. In life, not even necessarily with relationships.
Yeah, in
but just,
life, yeah.
Like, unless I die tomorrow, I'm going to get to wake up and make an effort to do this thing again and get better.
Yeah. I love that. All right. Well, Cade, I appreciate you sharing
Thanks
your vulnerability and your perspective from a man dealing with divorce. And so I hope you guys can take something from this that feels, you know, I don't know, a little bit more, so that you feel less alone in dealing with it. Like I said, my heart goes back. This is like a time of year too that a lot of people get divorced, like after the holidays. Yeah. So I know that if this helps you, I appreciate you listening. Rate the podcast. It really helps so that more people can get the podcast and find it and reach them and help them, because that's really what I talked to Kate about this. I wanted to do. I want it to reach people that need to hear, like, you're not alone. You're going to get through it. You're going to get another game 7. You just have to get back on the court and start training again. And that's just how it is. So again, I'll end you with just saying that you matter.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you for listening to Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. You matter.